Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Kane alongside Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, and Austin Price. Exterior Home Solutions, the proud presenting sponsor of the show, 865-524-5888, online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. Local and trusted since 1999. Spring practice starts tomorrow. Basketball happening, last night. Baseball ongoing. Got a lot of questions to get into. We'll start with this one here for you, Brent. If you were king or commissioner for a day, what would you do with putting some guardrails on the whole NIL transfer portal issue?
Put them under multi-year contracts so that there's punishment for them when they leave. There's some kind of financial recourse if you elect to leave early to make it harder. That would be number one. Number two, I think you got to get this portal window down to one window instead of two, whenever that is. It's got to be a one-window deal. Make a decision and it's over with. You can't do a deal, make a decision, stay, and then decide 6 weeks later, hey, I want another new deal, even though I haven't done anything, and I have a chance to leave yet again. So that would be probably the starting places for me.
UT Chuck 54, any news on Ricky Gibson, Austin?
No, I expect him to go through spring. I expect, that situation to work itself out, And so, I think, getting him out there for spring, getting him around his teammates, I think all that stuff just kind of, resolves itself, and everything, will be a little easier once you get to the practice field. And I expect him to be on the practice field.
Well, it sounds like good news.
Well, if I'm Ricky Gibson, here's the advice I'm giving Ricky Gibson. I don't want to see a tweet from you. I don't want to see anything from your mom. I don't listen. You go to practice and then you just go about business, and that'd be the end of it. That you've made your people made a public play. I don't agree with playing it that way. They did. Now you just, close ranks. You're not doing any media. You're not doing any social media stuff. You just go about your business, and we'll see where this thing falls at the end of spring when the portal window opens. But I don't think anybody needs to hear anything from Ricky Gibson.
Zjsvols, if you were to pick 3+ juniors who declare for the draft next year, who would your guesses be? He says his guesses here in February would be Nico, Jamal McCoy, Lance Hurd, with a dark horse being Ethan Davis. Juniors, rising juniors that you could see declaring, if you had to pick any right now, who would they be?
Well, man, if you can see, you hope it's Nico.
Yeah.
I
mean, for a variety of reasons. One, that means he's played well, Austin. Two, that also means that your pecking order in the quarterback deal with where you've invested in with guys coming in and all the things has a lot more balance to it. So, yeah, Nico would have to be at the top of the list, wouldn't he?
Oh, he's absolutely at the top of the list. I think, the Lance Hurd, makes a ton of sense. I would tell you, depending on, how Ricky plays this fall, if he's here, he would be a candidate for that as well. So, if you're a junior and you've got a little bit of juice to you, you're going to have the possibility with a really good season this fall of heading off to the NFL. But yes, I don't see McCoy. I don't see Nico. I don't see Lance Hurd on this roster in 2026.
Well, if Lance Hurd's going to the league, he's going to have a great year, Rob Lewis.
Yeah.
I didn't say he was going to the league, Hubs.
Okay, I got you.
I just said I don't see him here past. Look,
okay.
Unless if his play improves, then he warrants the big NIL price tag that he commanded over a year ago, and so thus then he goes pro.
Okay.
If he doesn't, then you just move David Sanders to the left tackle and you slide Bennett Warren or whoever into the right tackle and you keep going, right? I don't see the need to if his play doesn't improve, I don't think they're going to go, oh yeah, we'll sign up for another season contract on that deal.
I got you. Here's the other thing too, Rob. This guy, the poster is asking a good question, talking about three guys. There's 24 guys on this roster that think they're going to go pro with
every year.
24 guys on every roster.
Yeah.
Clarify that.
Arian Carter's thinking that right now, is he not?
Yes.
The second team linebacker at Georgia is thinking that right now.
Yeah.
I played with guys that Carson Newman thought they were going to the league. I'm like, man, y'all are delusional.
People need to understand every kid thinks that way.
And here's the thing.
Actually, every kid probably does not think. 90% of kids think
there you go. You put a nice qualifier on that because it's not everybody, right? But here's the thing too, is like, I think it's going to be important in the college football world to almost be like the Patriots. Like, you want to get kids in, let them play early, and then, once they get to their senior year and they kind of price themselves out, unless they are just, unbelievable, all SEC players, then you just let them move on, and then you slide somebody else into that role.
What a shift in college athletics. But
yeah,
I don't disagree with you.
No, I don't at all. And it brings the point. I mean, how many do you think there's going to be many Carson Becks, or there's going to be only quarterbacks as this thing matures and we go on, or how many more Amari Thomases are we see versus by what you're talking about, AP? Move them out. Keep the pipeline going. Keep the conveyor belt moving.
I think
that's going to start being more quarterback specific, personally.
Maybe, but I think for like a guy like Big O, like he was ultimately a team guy. But like you're right. If Big O was saying, "Hey, I need $600,000," then again,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You say, "Well, go find it elsewhere." Like, but I mean, like if you're willing to be,
go get it from the Cowboys.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Eric, quarterback specific. Everybody's going to look for a veteran. If you're in need of a quarterback, there's always going to be that market there for somebody potentially. But yeah, I think in other positions, I do think you're going to have a revolving door. I think that's the world that it's the NFL model, right? Are you going to franchise tag somebody? Or are you going to let somebody walk, right? I think that's where you're kind of going in college football.
Speaking of franchise tag, Trey Smith's about to make a whole lot of money, so good for him in that.
Yeah, regard. I don't know if anybody saw the tweet as we were taping this. The Chiefs just made a trade and got rid of what's his name, Tui? Is that his name? Tony or whatever. The offensive lineman. I don't have it in front of me, but they just made a trade and got rid of and moved him to the Bears, and that's about $16 million off the cap that they were on the hook for, which is going to free up more money for Trey Smith. I think the Chiefs are now focusing on trying to do a long-term deal with Trey Smith based on the cap movement they're making there. I think they're saying, "Hey, Trey Smith, we want you to be our long-term future." You wondered when he got the franchise tag if that's what they were going to do, if they were going to trade that to try to get some value out of it, or exactly what they were going to do with Trey. Looks like they're going to try to center back around and maybe try to do something long-term with him, which is going to give him a chance to make a lot of money.
Yeah, good for him. He definitely deserves it. DolittleVol. Will Levi Clark beat Christian Moore's home run record? Does he have to be in the lineup every day to this point? 5 home runs, I think, so far in the first 12 games for the true freshman who's been a part-time player. He has been in the lineup pretty much the last week. Every day he's been hitting 5th. I think they should move him up to 3rd. More at-bats for Levi Clark, the better. Will he beat Christian Moore's home run record? I don't know. Christian Moore hit 61 throughout his career, so that's a long way away. But he needs to be in the everyday lineup because he had another 3 hits Tuesday night. The dude is really, really good at baseball. ThatVolGuy. Can you attempt to diagnose what ails the Lady Vols? Kentucky game was rough, but I was shocked when they carried over to Georgia.
Yeah, I think we were all shocked. Nobody saw that one coming. So we'll see. They look like Sunday they looked like a really mentally tired basketball team. Now they battled back and got into it, and they couldn't get any stops in the 4th quarter. So we'll see. We'll see exactly where they are at. That loss probably sends them on the road in the NCAA tournament. That was as bad of a loss as you can have.
Nashville 615. Do you think Tennessee has let too many DBs walk to the transfer portal the last few years?
No.
I would say no, Austin, because it forced the hand to where you had to make change last year, and that change was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And who left that was good? That was that you really missed, AP.
Well, maybe they're talking about Conyers or Jordan Matthews, but again, those guys were on the hook for fairly big NIL deals, and if they weren't finding their way to the field, then they're just burning money over there on your sideline. So, I would tell you,
a lot of fans don't factor that in.
No, and if you're talking about some of those, Warren Burrell type players, then no. Again, as Rob said, and he brings up a great point, you forced change and then had the best year in the secondary you've had in a long, long time. That's why I wonder with the forced change on the offensive line and or at receiver, what we see this fall, because we don't know. It's a great unknown as we said here in March. But the there's talent there. The question is can they get the most out of it? If they get the most out of it, then I think Tennessee's got a chance to be like, whoa, they're pretty good there.
I think this, Eric, and maybe I'm wrong, but I look at it this way when you look at the secondary and college football in general. I think that's going to be a position group that's going to be really hard to have great depth in, because one, corners are of such need around the country. Everybody's looking for a corner. B, those guys want to play, and you don't rotate. You rotate some, but you don't rotate like you do on the defensive line. I think it's going to be hard to sit there and go, hey, we're 8 or 10 deep with really quality players in the secondary. I think financially your commitment's going to be to your top 6 or so, and then after that, I mean, it's going to be some young kids and kind of the conveyor belt deal that we're talking about moving forward. I just think that's going to be kind of hard, moving. But we'll see. I think that's going to be a position that's going to be really hard to have some depth at. Unless you're paying a lot of money for somebody to stand on the sideline. Sorry.
Yeah, Tennessee's top 2 players who played the most snaps on defense last year, Jamal McCoy, Ricky Gibson, easily played more snaps than, Aaron Carter was in the 600s as well. But by and large, those 2 guys played more snaps than pretty much anybody on defense. Is there anything more to the football staff our football staff could be doing to compete for championships, or could copycat from other top programs, or just simply do we need more NIL money?
I mean,
you can never have enough NIL money.
You can never have enough anything. Okay, I mean that's kind of where it's at. I mean, remember this. I mean, you were in the playoff.
That's right.
Okay, I mean, you were a playoff team a year ago. Now, did you play well? Absolutely not. Okay, you got beat by the national champions on their home field. You got hammered. Okay, I get that, but I mean, don't act like you're like miles away trying to catch up. I mean, you're what's Phillips O-line? You're in the hunt, in the mix. I mean, that's where you are right now. You got to play better on the road. Okay, you got to go win road games. That'll be the challenge this year. You always need more in everything that you need. I think you have to evolve and tweak some offensively. I mean, there's obviously always things you can do, but don't forget where you are now and where you've come from to get to this point. Now, the question is, can you sustain it? But you're right there in the mix right now, Eric.
Yeah, 100% right there in the mix. I mean, you are, as you pointed out, a college football playoff program. You got to get back there, but you can never have enough of NIL money and, developing and recruiting a really, really good player. I mean, you always want more.
Well, I mean, if you don't lose at Arkansas, you host.
Yeah, exactly. Like find a way to score another touchdown in that game, and it's maybe you're into the second round of the college.
Don't get a penalty on special teams, right? I mean, make a play, make 2 plays or whatever in the fourth quarter, get out of there, survive, and you're hosting a playoff game. Yeah, that's the difference.
Pine wants to know, UT fans should be very excited about spring practice with all the questions, but is it difficult to feel excited when we really only receive hearsay reports due to the lack of media access? Except for stretching. The NFL does everything it can to keep its team and sport in the spotlight all year long, while college football does the exact opposite. Do you think Sankey or another commissioner might demand more media access at practices similar to the NFL to maintain fan engagement, given the amount of money and the TV contracts rely on team popularity?
I think that, and I'm not Pine, I love you, one of our favorite posters, but your fan engagement is pretty high right now, and you see any spring practice. I mean, you're a message board all the time. I mean, Greg Sankey. I mean, they're not going to do anything. What are the TV ratings? They're off the charts. And Hubbard, you know that you bang this drum more than anybody. I mean, college football coaches just aren't going to allow it ever. The Nick Saban effect.
No, and what AD is going to come to a college coach and go, "Hey, you got to open up your practice."
Who's a college coach who's making 4 times or 5 times what you make?
Yeah, I mean, and instead you're going to have a bunch of ADs who are going to go, well, my coach don't want to have a spring game because they're afraid it might increase tampering. Even though a lot of coaches have come out, several coaches have come out this week and said that's just kind of crazy. But everybody's going to follow everybody else, and they're getting canceled around there, and that's part of it. So no, to answer his question, there's no greater sport that's secretive than college football. Austin Price. I mean, Rick Barnes would let Chris Beard come to walkthrough and watch walkthrough to get ready for the game.
He probably did.
Yeah, you know, I mean, doesn't care. Tony Vitello's not holding any secrets about his baseball team. Doesn't matter. College football, man, it's the Iron Curtain, and that nobody's going to relinquish that Iron Curtain.
Tony goes on radio and tells the fan base when they're scrimmaging. I mean,
you know what I mean? It's just they're not going to have. It's just a different mentality in the sport, Austin.
No, it is. I mean, it's woven back for several decades with the paranoia and some of the mind games that coaches would do. I mean, obviously the head coach here was a part of a deal where they dropped a fake playbook, to try to get Texas bought in, which they did. And so, I mean, it is much more cloak and dagger than any other sport.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, Philip wanted to close practices right around early 2000, and Dickey wouldn't let him, and didn't let him for that reason. Popularity of the sport, everybody's engagement, all those types of things. And obviously he gave in 2004, and they closed practices. Then they're not going back to the other direction. I mean, lane was open here, but no. Now, would I like to see a scrimmage in spring? Would I like to see more in spring? Do I think it's crazy that you don't see more in spring? Sure, absolutely. I think you should. I mean, I don't think it hurts to watch some 11-on-11 in spring football. I don't think that. I don't think they're putting in the wishbone this spring to try to get ready.
We're not even allowed to shoot the mesh point.
I mean, okay. we're old enough that we were there a lot longer than we wanted to be a lot of days.
Oh, dude, John Taylor handing out stats at the scrimmages. Darryl Vereen ran 9 times for 44 yards.
I was going to say, I heard you guys got stats at scrimmages. I mean, I wouldn't know anything
silly.
about
the fact that I mean, it's so silly that what you're missing is a bunch of boring nothing for 90% of the time.
Because they don't even practice hard like they did back 20 years ago. Like, a little contact.
Yeah.
Watching scrimmages has a lot of value other than that now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give me a scrimmage in the spring. Give me a scrimmage in fall. Let me see a little bit there and go from there. I'm fine if we don't see game week practice. I mean, when I first started back when I walked uphill, in the snow both ways, 10 miles barefooted and all those types of things. Mm-hmm. I mean, Philip Fulmer talked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
During game week, 7 times.
We would go over to the stadium on Friday afternoon for a walkthrough, and every TV station in town too.
Yeah, everybody was there just in case somebody said something, and it's just a different world, and it's not going back to that world anytime soon, ever.
I won't say ever. I do think if you had the right person in charge and they mandated it, that it's possible. But I do think that there would be so much pushback, it would be hard to get there.
But the head coach will never talk 7 days a week, right? Ever again.
No, I'm going to say ever. I'm going to say it'll never go back to where it was.
Crack that door open.
Had a Sunday night teleconference. A Sunday night teleconference. I remember that we get on the phone and basically have a conference call with Philip.
Yeah, and then on media day he did print media, and then he did TV media separate. He did 2 press conferences on media day. It's a different world.
It really is. Let's go to Minnie. What percentage of tip-offs is Okpara getting? It feels like he wins almost every single time, Rob.
AP, you got that, don't you? I'm going to set 78.
It's actually 64.
No, it's higher than that.
I'm joking.
Is there anywhere that keeps that stat? Just curious.
Oh, I'm sure
there probably is. And I mean, if I would have looked that up, I probably could have. I mean, if I would have looked at that question beforehand, I probably could have figured it out. I've never seen that stat listed anywhere.
I was going to say, back to the previous question, when did the .comers get Philip?
We didn't get him separate.
Me and Heup are going to sit down with him at Thursday night at midnight.
Rob Lewis covered games on a not.com media credential for several years to get in the building because he was not allowed to have a credential
because of the .comers.
But we got him in. We got him in as a .com.
That was just the first year.
Just the first year. We got in the second year. All right. We only had to deal with it for a year.
The second question here from Minnie. Also, is there still any rumblings of Zakai trying to stay on one more year now that the NCAA seems to be getting some wins in court?
I mean, I don't think there's not the only rumbling is going to be if the NCAA, if that thing passes. I mean, he's not going to have a leg to stand on it otherwise.
Correct. It has to pass. And they're not going to do anything on that till probably July, I bet, which means all those players would have to not sign with agents and all that stuff. I mean, when you look at Tennessee's roster, I mean, the Gainey, Zakai, Meshack, those aren't NBA draft picks. So are they willing to be patient and not sign with an agent and see what happens? And then if it doesn't happen, then sign with an agent and go play in Europe?
No. I mean, I'd be stunned.
Well,
I mean,
find out on next week's Ball Club Confidential, because I asked Meshack and Gainey that exact question.
Well, I mean, yeah, I bet their answer. I mean, I think that's a great line of questioning, but I'm just saying, knowing 22-year-old kids, I bet their answer here in March is a lot different than when the phone is ringing off the hook with some agents with some cash in their hand.
Well, there's just going to be such a lag time between when the season ends. Let's say they even win the national title, right? Which, I mean, why would you want to come back if you win the national title? You run off into the sunset. But let's say they make it to the Final Four. You're playing in April. The lag time between April and when anything goes down is such a long time.
Well,
how does Rick and them plan for, well, they might come back.
Yeah.
Well, you got to plan like they're not.
I can tell you how this head coach is going to play. Like they ain't coming back.
He's playing.
He's going to play it just like he did when Josiah and Santiago were hanging out there in the wind.
Yeah, I think the other thing.
I'm going to build my team.
I think the other thing too is, I mean, how much do you cost yourself in terms of playing for a good team in Europe if you don't do something early? If you wait around and see like what roster spots are left overseas, because there's some of those places you really don't want to go play for, right? I mean, do you have a better opportunity if you're available right out of the gate versus waiting several months to see what happens? I think it's hard for someone to be that patient if we're getting into July. And I've said for several weeks now, I think the NCAA is going to wait till July on that decision.
All right, we got plenty more questions to get into, but first let's get a word from our friends over at Exterior Home Solutions.
This is your family's first and most important line of defense against Mother Nature. When she strikes, make sure you call the people that I trust, my family and friends at Exterior Home Solutions.
Exterior Home Solutions, 865-524-5888, online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. Local and trusted since 1999, East Tennessee's #1 choice for roofing, siding, windows, or garage. That is Exterior Home Solutions. We'll move right along here. We'll go to David Keith Fan. Got a couple of baseball questions. For the last few years, we've heard of the BaseVols' success being tied to Coach Q's conditioning program. Can you give an idea about what his philosophy is? You can't argue with the results. Yeah, I mean, on top of Tony's and Josh Elander's and Frank's evaluations, getting those guys to campus, developing them, Q has a major part of it. And so does Beth Schwartz, the dietitian for the baseball team. You've already heard a lot of guys this year talk about changing their bodies, and from Liam Doyle to Tanner Franklin to Gavin Keelan. I did a story on the home runs last season. I remember talking to Q, and I was asking him kind of how he goes about it. He has a specific plan for every person on the team. It's very surprising. I mean, a specific plan for every single person on the team. How much time and work and detail that is, not just for the starting 9, but for player number 49 on the roster. So he puts the work in, and obviously the results are definitely showing. This one's fun. Why do baseball coaches insist on wearing uniforms? Could you imagine Coach Barnes on the sideline wearing a jersey and shorts, and Coach Heup with shoulder pads and a helmet? I'm not making this comment because my wife is always remarking about how Coach V looks good in his uniform. Baseball coaches have always been in uniform at all levels, minor league, college, MLB. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, Brent, but managers and baseball coaches have always been in uniforms.
I mean, and that's one that's not evolved and not changed. Basketball coaches used to be in shirts and ties.
So football coaches too.
And that's all evolved and gone away. And baseball coaches have always stayed in their gear. So it's just a baseball thing. And I have no idea why it started. I have no idea why it continues.
It's all gotten too lax. The Ball Network booth. They used to be in ties, and then Hubs said, no more ties.
I did ditch the tie a few years ago. You're exactly right. I wore them for a long time, but I did ditch the tie.
Gaterdawg, what's the best argument for or against 8-9 conference games?
Just added. It's just another added tough game. I think if you're Miami or one of these schools that's outside the league, why would you want to play a team in the SEC? But I think the SEC teams would much rather play a Minnesota, a Boston College, a Wisconsin, or whoever over playing. Oh wait, let's add LSU to the schedule now. Oh wait, let's add Texas A&M to the schedule now. Like I think they would much rather play an out of league game than playing 9. But ultimately, I think they just don't want to play 9 plus 1.
Yeah, I think the only argument for, in my opinion, is fan experience. I mean, would you rather see? I mean, with what you're paying for your season tickets, would you rather see LSU?
Well, for the conference would be money, tons and tons of money.
Yeah, ton. But I mean, for your season ticket dollar, would you rather see Kent State or LSU? But yeah, sure. I mean, for coaches, it makes 0 sense, none.
I was going back and forth with the poster on the thread a little bit the other day, and it's obviously evolving with the conference expansion and all that. I mean, if you go to 14 or 16 teams for the college football playoffs, that extra game, I mean, that's more realistic, right? But what if you do like a kickoff challenge with the Big Ten? Then maybe it's not as realistic. I mean, the way all things are right now at 12 teams in the playoffs, you're playing 8 games, you could make a very good argument this year that why on earth would you want to play a 9th conference game? I mean, you got Matt Rule that's talking about other Big Ten coaches for making hard schedules. Like, why would you do that? But if it expands, then I think that gives Greg Sankey and Greg Sankey specifically, more leeway to go ahead, and get that done because you're going from 12 to potentially 16 teams. You can make more money by playing another conference game and still probably get 4 or 5 in.
Well, listen, whenever TV comes to the table with the amount of money that this league wants and this league needs and these ADs need for rev share and everything else, you're going to go to 9 games. Until that happens, Greg Sankey is going to continue to walk the line he's been walking. Yeah, I'm for 9 games. TV, that's translation. TV, come to the table with money. He's also saying, I'm not going to do anything to hurt my league's chances in post game, meaning we're not going to 9 games until there's more money involved. So this thing all hinges on the money. And it depends on when TV gets there. And until TV gets there, I think the league's going to continue to kick the can down the road.
Let me tell you why I would stick with 8. And you're right, money drives it all. But like the bottom part of the Big Ten is far weaker than the bottom part of the SEC. And to me, that there's a disconnect there that allows the Big Ten schools to have an easier path, not to play as tough of a schedule. Yeah, they may play 9 conference games, but I mean, how many quality opponents in that 9 conference games are they playing?
Yeah,
and I'm saying
that's the point the poster makes.
Yeah. I'm playing that. Knowing Tennessee's schedule this year is not like overly daunting in league play.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at all those things, but I mean, I think Greg Sankey has it's a really interesting next 5 years or so for this league. They've been on the forefront of a lot of things, right? They were way out in front on TV money before everybody else. Now the Big Ten's got their big TV deal. We saw all the news this week about the ACC and what it takes to get out of that league, which obviously some teams are going to get out. That league, as the buyout drops down, there's some people going to be leaving the ACC. Well, conveniently, the lowest buyout point, as Andy Staples pointed out in his podcast, just happens to coincide while the Big Ten television contract is up for renegotiation. 3 years ahead of when the SEC's television contract is up for renegotiation. So if you're Greg Sankey, what is your plan? Because the Big Ten's going to be sitting there with a couple of available ACC teams, most likely, in a TV negotiation window for revenue. Where are you going, SEC? Are you adding? Are you staying pat? What are you doing here? What's of value to you? What's not of value to? I think from a leadership standpoint, there's some real critical decisions on the forefront for Greg Sankey to look at to continue to evolve this conference and keep it at the top of college athletics.
No doubt, all about the money. Let's go to Volken. He's got a couple here. Who were your first 5 off the bus, biggest, scariest looking dudes for the 2025 football Vols? AP, who you got?
I'd go Jeremiah's Hurd.
It's a shame Elijah Simmons is gone now.
Yeah, but I mean, like Elijah was. I mean, because he was not that very tall. Like, I mean, like he's a unit, but like
he was still one of the first 5 off the bus for me.
Shoot. That's a great question. I would go Jeremiah's Hurd. I'd go Lance Hurd just sheer girth.
But Jordan Ross.
Larry Johnson. I'm naming offensive linemen just because they're so big. Defensive lineman, Easton's a good sized kid, but I'm not taking him off the bus first though, right? I mean, that's a great question. One I've never really even thought about. Does it have to be a lineman though? Because you can get a big middle.
You can have anybody.
Scary looking.
No, it doesn't have to be a defensive. It doesn't have to be an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. I mean, I think where's Arian Carter on that list? What does that look like? What about a guy like? I mean, Ethan Davis is as well put together as anybody, right? I mean, for that position, for what they're doing there. So
Jackson Ross.
I don't know. So
let's stay away from special teams. Another one here. Who other than Nico and David Sanders, if they were to put it all together based on their raw physical attributes, has NFL first-round potential on the current roster? He said, I know this calls for a lot of speculation from some guys who can ball out all that more. Basically what I'm asking is, who has first-round physical traits on this roster right now?
I would go Jordan Ross. I would go Isaiah Campbell, Mike Matthews,
Nico,
Jermod McCoy.
Does Lance Hurd have first-round attributes?
I think he's got
measurables.
Yeah, the measurables, yes. He's still got to be quicker feet and improve some of that. But, I mean, yeah.
Did you say Mike Matthews?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you're just going off measurables, I mean, Jemias Hurd's on that list. There's nobody prettier than that guy walking through the building. Just on measurables.
He's checking every box on that.
Yeah, I mean, just don't. Now, I don't have any idea if he can play offensive line or not. I mean, maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't at some point. I don't know. But when you talk about measurables, there's nobody with better measurables for that position than that guy.
Yeah, no doubt. Zjsvols, which current Tennessee coach will produce the next #1 overall pick in their sports professional draft? I think it's Tony Vitello, and it's not even close. What do y'all say?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, that would be where I would go based on what we've seen thus far, right?
I wouldn't sleep on Heupel the way they're recruiting quarterbacks and the way the NIL world works.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying one of these guys is going to be a #1 pick, but they're fishing in those waters every year. It seems like.
Yeah, and I mean, baseball wise, I mean, who gets taken? Is that always a pitcher that goes first, Eric? Mm-mm. It's most of the time not, right?
No, it's not always a pitcher. It can be a pitcher. It can be it was a two-way player.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
your best hitter. I mean, it's just kind of.
I know Tony Vitello's got a lot of talent on this roster, and he's got a lot of young talent on this roster that looks really good right now. But who knows how a player develops in all these sports moving forward. I think basketball, it's hard. I think having a #1 draft pick in basketball is really hard when you factor in all the Europe stuff, all the international players. Rob, I mean, having the overall #1 pick is hard.
Well, you've also ruined your. I mean, I could be wrong. You've also blown your whole NIL budget up, and maybe ruined your locker room if you get the #1 NFL pick or NBA pick.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, the kid that just went to BYU. I mean, what was that? I mean, was that 5? AJ, and I mean the word out the numbers we're hearing for Amit, or who's not even the #1 player in this class, are north of 3 right now. So
yep,
I don't think you'll see. Not while Rick Barnes is here, you won't see #1 pick.
Let's go to BilVolBaggin. As of today, how many of the remaining 2025 high school basketball targets do you think Tennessee will sign, Rob?
I would say Zuri Collins. They have a very good chance at. Chance Mallory. I mean, I think Chance Mallory likes Tennessee a lot, but he's also from Charlottesville, Virginia. Virginia's getting ready to hire a new basketball coach. Easy
win for the new coach.
Do what?
It will be an easy win for the new coach.
Yes, and I mean, and how hard are they going to come out after him? And the NIL package that they're going to put together to keep a hometown kid at home. How many top 50 national basketball players has Charlottesville, Virginia produced? My point being, I think it's going to be hard to get him away from Virginia if they hire somebody the family likes. So I will say 1 right now, but man, I wouldn't sleep on anything. The way recruiting works right now, they just had Matthew Abel in this weekend, who they like a lot, but man, he's a top 30 prospect and unsigned right now. I mean, he's the prettiest girl to dance, at this stage. So I think Tennessee, Zuri Collins, I think they're in great shape with the point guard who visited here a long time ago. Outside of that, I don't know of anybody they're definitely going to get. And, I think they're definitely in it with Maori, but the UVA stuff is curious.
Athrun's got a couple. Where does everything really stand with Tristen Keys, who's going to be on campus this weekend, right, AP?
That's correct. Tennessee's firmly in it. I think Tennessee, if they're not the top team, they are in a group at the top with a couple other teams. Like the problem is like at one point last November, December, he was talking about ending things in January or February. Then they kind of just slowed it down, which means they're going to take visits this spring, take their official visits this summer, and go from there. So Tennessee's firmly in it. They're going to get all the visits, but this thing is going to boil down more to like the window of time. The kid's not going to do anything right now, so you're going to have to perform well on the visits, perform well on your OV, and hope you're still right there at the top, if not at the top when it comes to decision time.
We have to win out to get a number 1 seed, correct? I think he just means regular season, not necessarily the tournament, Rob.
I think so, but we're recording this on Wednesday. If Alabama loses to Florida and Auburn, and Florida loses to A&M, I don't know. If you're Tennessee, yes. I think if you do win out, you're a 1 seed. But there's some other stuff out there that could happen if you go 1-1. I think.
If hitting continues to stay this way, baseball teams should be the favorite in every game they play in, right? They're going to be favored more times than not. Obviously, once SEC schedule gets going, Tennessee's playing on the road. There's obviously, they're playing in Fayetteville, they're playing in Baton Rouge. There's going to be games, obviously, down there that they won't be favored in. But to your point, Tennessee's hitting 7 grand slams this year, already halfway to the NCAA program record, and Tennessee's just played his 12th game.
And Tennessee just broke the SEC record a year ago, right?
Yeah, 12 SEC record, and that's second most all time in NCAA, 12 a season ago. Yeah. So it's wild, man. It's Rob. What'd you say? You were cutting in and out. What'd you say?
I said they play in that small park, though. You see?
Oh my God!
100%.
It was like Baker from the Muppets, and Eric just said, "Yeah,
I agree with that. Sure." Little League Park. We have the data available now, right? Not the fans don't have it readily, and I know some fans are wanting that, but at the ballpark, they tell us. I put it on the board. We tweet it out. Someone can go in and look at every single home run Tennessee hits and see if it would be out at this park, at that park, at that park. The whole Little League ballpark argument it's really hurting when Tennessee smashed 10 home runs in Houston last week. Anyway. Last question. It's going to go to Easy Flynn. Would you rather? These are kind of some fun ones here. Would you rather? Question scenario number 1. 2 more questions, sorry. Nico throwing 30 touchdowns in 2025 or rushing for 50 yards per game? Brent, I would say 30 touchdowns in a season, right?
Give me the points. I don't care about the yards. Give me the points.
Win the basketball natty this year and Barnes retires going off in a blaze of glory, or reaching the first Final Four ever, losing and have Barnes coach for 5 more years. You get that natty, Rob, right?
Yeah, totally take the natty.
Yeah.
You've never been to a Final Four. You get there. It's so hard to get there. When you get there, go win the thing, right? Go win it. Straight up.
Last scenario here. Levi Clark ties SEMO's home run record this year as a freshman.
So career record or single season record?
I don't know. I
think it can't be career record. There's no way he's going to do that.
Yeah, and I forgot what the single season record is now. I'll have to go back and look.
It can't be that one.
Or have AJ Russell win 10 games for the BaseVols this season.
10-game winner.
Yeah, for me,
because if he's winning 10 games, that means he's winning 10 conference games.
Yes.
Because you're not stretching him out into non-conference. He's not getting 10 midweek wins against Western Carolina or whoever. He's getting 10 wins against
Bellarmine, Hubs, Bellarmine.
Whatever. That means he's winning in regional play, super regional play. Give me the 10 wins.
Yeah, he's not going to be pitching long enough this weekend against the Bonnies to qualify for a win if he opens. So, yeah, 100%. Here's the last one. This is iHeartVols basketball. Which league, SEC, mid-major conference, NBA/G League, or overseas, will the following be playing in next season, Rob? Zakai.
I would say overseas.
Meshack.
Overseas.
Okpara.
And against all these guys that we're just talking about, could be G League or overseas. It could that's an either or. If you want to decide, it's
Okpara.
Tennessee.
Okay. Chaz.
I would say G League. I think Chaz has a really chance to get drafted in the second round. I'm not saying he will, but I mean he'll have a chance and he'll be on that cusp, that border.
And then Bishop Boswell.
I don't know any reason why he won't be back at Tennessee, but the way people move, who knows?
All right. There was one more, and I skipped over it. I didn't write it down. This is from Andrew. He wants to know, what's the worst fast food place?
AP, take it away.
Burger King.
Why do people hate on Burger King? I don't hate Burger King.
Unless you're Craig Price, when he'll go in there, he would always embarrass us when I was a kid and go, "Can I get half and half fries, half onion rings?" Like that. It's not fast food. They
That
don't
would embarrass you as a kid?
AP, those are frings.
Yeah, they're a thing now. Back then, they weren't a thing. It's a thing now. You can get them.
Craig was a trendsetter back in the
When I think of Craig Price, I think trendsetter. Absolutely, 100%.
Rob, what's the worst fast food place?
Man, I don't have strong opinions. I don't eat a lot of fast food. I hate Sonic, but I don't have a lot of strong opinions on fast food.
Brent, what you got?
AP, I hurt AP's feelings right there.
Not really. I do think they have a good hamburger though.
I'm probably not stopping it. I'm probably out of a convenience deal. I'm probably not stopping at Sonic. They seem to always be pretty slow.
They are slow. I agree with that.
So that I don't necessarily hate them, but here's my thing with fast food, and this is it's just kind of filler food. So I'm going whatever's most convenient. Like I don't have enough of an opinion to say I'm not going to eat this particular fast food place if it's on the right side of the interstate exit where I can get off, get my food, get right back on. I will also make a decision based on the line in the drive-through.
Yeah,
like you know what, I'm going there because I may go to Burger King because there's nobody to drive through.
I think
someplace because Wendy's because there's 7 deep.
I think the better question for us would be not necessarily what chain, but which particular fast food location. And the obvious answer is Carthage Arby's.
Yeah, I've been there multiple times.
Is the most convenient fast food location. It's
here's the thing: you can do gas, donuts, and Arby's all in one.
Nothing there.
100 yards.
You get off. You're at the Arby's drive-through in 30 seconds after you get off the Carthage exit.
I'll never forget.
Gordonsville, by the way. I don't want to offend the fine people of Gordonsville. That's Gordonsville Carthage exit. I learned that. I got a lot of hate from the people of Gordonsville that I mistreated them on that exit. It's Gordonsville and Carthage. If you get off the exit and you're going towards Nashville, Carthage is to the right, Gordonsville's to the left. So
I'll never forget when Ben McKee made me sit in line at a drive-through at McDonald's after the Florida game. For
I heard that story was opposite. You flipped that story.
I will say that. I will say that McDonald's.
Who's more trustworthy, me or Ben?
Hey,
I can promise you that story because Ben McKee was too young. Because I made AP cry one night because I would not get in the line at the McDonald's drive-through in Dahlonega, Georgia, at about midnight, coming back from Athens.
We stopped somewhere though.
Chatsworth Wendy's.
AP and I wheeled into the 24-hour McDonald's just south of Bristol.
Oh yeah, we did.
At about 3:45 in the morning. On the way home from the Battle of Bristol. That was a fun stop there.
Let's play.
Didn't last that long though.
Let's play how well we know AP. Take Chick-fil-A off the menu, if you will. Where are we stopping when we need a bite? Where are we stopping?
Wendy's.
Fast food.
Wendy's.
That's it.
Wendy's.
Wendy's for sure.
Oh, no ice.
It's light ice.
Right, AP? Are we missing anybody? It's Wendy's, right?
I mean, out of your traditional fast food chains, I'd much rather that than McDonald's.
You can turn those up at a Subway.
I like Subway.
You get the pizza?
Yeah, flatbread, or I can get a steak and cheese. It's not fast food. I'm a big fan of Penn Station.
Yeah, Penn Station's good.
AP, where are you at on gas station Subways?
Sure. I mean, whatever.
Okay. I mean, some people wouldn't take part in those Subways. I mean, I'm not one of those people.
Oh, I don't hate on that at all.
Convenience, man. Whatever's convenient.
I'll tell you who's got the Waggles buffalo chicken tenders. They're pretty good.
I'm with you 100% right there. That Waggles Grill's good stuff.
I think Hubs and I stop by there a couple times a week, man. We know all about
I think we've handled Andrew's question pretty well.
All right. Good stuff as always. Appreciate you guys sending in questions. Really, really good stuff this week. Big thanks to Exterior Home Solutions for being a part of the show. 865-524-5888 online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. We got so much going on right now. Brent Hubs with recruiting and football and baseball, basketball, chasing the number one seed. First week, new customers only $1. $1 right now, right?
That's right. Sign up. You want to know what we're all about? Sign up for $1 for a week and check it all out. You will not be disappointed. Tons of stuff going on. Tournament action coming up in basketball. Baseball's obviously continues to be on a heater, and we're going to get it cranked up with a ton of football coverage leading up to the start of spring practice tomorrow, and then obviously full coverage of spring practice over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks.
He's Brent Hubs. Awesome prize, Rob Lewis. I'm Mary Kane. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.